All right, everyone, welcome back to the Renowned Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Morris. I'm so excited for the show we have lined up for you today. But before we get started, I want to share that if you're ready to fast track your career and achieve extraordinary success, I have a program that will ignite your potential and propel you to new heights. As a high-level executive coach, I specialize in empowering leaders like you to unleash your full potential and excel in your career. Whether you're seeking a rapid advancement in your current career or a seamless transition to a new industry, I'm here to guide you every step of the way. Imagine having a trusted advisor who understands your unique challenges and provides you with a proven roadmap for success. Together, we'll work from your strengths, overcome obstacles, and position you as a magnetic force in the professional world. Now is the time to break free from the limitations holding you back and step into the extraordinary career you deserve. Don't settle for mediocrity when greatness is within your reach. So claim your spot. It all starts with a complimentary session. Just go to renownedleadership.com and click the Book Now button or click the link in the podcast description below. Accelerate your career, embrace your true potential, and become the influential leader you were destined to be. Remember, success favors those who take decisive action. Seize this opportunity and join the ranks of the high-achieving executives who are making waves in their industry. With all that being said, I'm excited to introduce you to today's guest. It's my honor and absolute privilege, everyone, to bring you guys today's guest. He is the fearless marketer himself. He is Mr. Randy Crane, and he's been marketing for over 40 years. That's over 4 decades he's been in the marketing game. He is packed full of just insights, ideas, philosophies, everything that can help you take your marketing to the next level. I know for me as an entrepreneur and a business owner, that marketing is one of the hardest things I've had to learn and had to deal with. So if that's where you find yourself, or if you're a marketer yourself, today's episode is just going to be packed full of valuable insights for you, some great ideas and some great tips and tricks. So I can't wait for you guys to hear Randy. So without further ado, here we go.
Stephen, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity of being on your show. You know what? I've been in marketing for 43 years. That's 4-3. That's a long time to be doing anything, right? And anyways,
that would have been 1981.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting because, I talked to a friend of mine a year or two ago, and he said, Randy, you should really write a book. You should really, set up training for people. And, and I thought, well, who would want to listen to me, right? And, but he said to me, he said, you got 43 years in this. And I said, yeah, I have. And, it's interesting. I was there during the 80s when marketing was all about newspaper advertising and TV commercials and radio, magazines, all that kind of thing was all really popular. And then I was there in the 90s when it all crashed. And then I was also there on the rise of the digital era. And, I've been very adaptive. I've been very fortunate, actually, over the years because I've had some great mentors and people that helped me transition into the digital world, which, for a person my age is like huge. Okay. So anyways, after talking with this friend of mine, I decided, you know what, I'm going to start. I'm not so much interested in, making courses and doing all. I just want to share my knowledge with people, right?
That's such an interesting story, and it's funny. It's like that. So you started marketing in like 1980, 1981.
Yeah.
I know this because I just turned 40. So
I, oh my
you've
God, you're
been
just a baby.
you've been doing it before I was born. So
Absolutely.
that's so cool though, because you come with, like you said, so much knowledge, so much wisdom when it comes to it. And marketing, especially for young entrepreneurs. And when I say young, I don't mean young in age, I mean new to the game of being an entrepreneur. Marketing is scary for us. And I think it's awesome that you call yourself the fearless marketer, because for me, for my friends, like marketing is scary for us. And so, first of all, welcome to the Renowned Leadership Podcast, everybody. I'm Stephen Morris, your host, and Randy Crane is my guest today, the fearless marketer. And he's bringing us some great information, because when it comes to marketing, I can't speak for everybody. I can speak for myself. I struggled so much thinking as a consumer rather than thinking from a provider or a seller. And I really had to get myself out of that mindset. And what you have on the screen there, people don't buy for logical reasons, they buy for emotional reasons. That is something that was very hard for me to learn once I started thinking from a provider or a seller standpoint. So, can you talk to us just real quick? I'm sure we'll get back into it here in a little bit, but what does that actually mean? People don't buy for logical reasons.
I have a kind of a story that kind of goes along with this. Um, Back when I was a teenager, Stephen, um, I wanted this great set of speakers. Okay. And I'm talking about big speakers, right? They're huge. And they were to go with my stereo system, which was also huge. And so I saved my money. And I'm every day coming along, I'm getting more and more excited because I'm getting these speakers. So finally comes to the day, and I go to the stereo store and I buy my speakers. I think they were $500 or $600 at the time. It took me forever to save the money. I know. Back in the 80s, that's what you spent on speakers, right? Anyway, they were liquid cooled. They had all the cool bells and whistles on them. So I go there and I pay for them, and I come home and I hook them all up and I listen to the sound. I'm like, oh my God, these things are awesome. And I looked at the receipt and I started thinking to myself, oh my God, what did I do? I mean, I got rent to pay, I got bills to pay. I mean, oh my God, I'm supposed to buy a birthday present for my mother, blah, 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 blah. And all these thoughts are ringing through my head, right? And the next thing I know, the speakers magically disconnected from my stereo and found their way into my car. And they went back to the store and I got my money back. People don't buy for logical reasons, they buy for emotional reasons. The emotion that I had for the speakers didn't outweigh the money that I paid for them. So, that being said, when you are a salesperson or a marketing person, the best job or the best thing you can do for your customer in any case is to identify with the emotions that they're bringing to the table. Okay. Now, emotions, everybody has them. Stephen, you've got them. I've got them. Your audience all has emotions. But being able to identify what those emotions are and how you feel. You see, the problem with the speaker story is that the salesperson who sold them to me didn't do a great job. I said, listen, I want to buy these speakers. He said, okay, here's my money. There you go. Here are the speakers. Thanks very much. Get lost. Okay. Where if you had built value into the speakers, if you had you know what, these things are going to sound so great, blah, blah, blah. You just given me the sales pitch that would have gotten me past the lack of money, I would have probably kept it. But you see, this is where marketing becomes a problem because everybody's thinking for themselves, not for others. Marketing is a giving sport. Okay, it's not something that you take. And let me give you an example. We've all seen those ads on the internet. I I've never done marketing before, and oh my God, I signed up for my ClickFunnels account this morning, and I launched it at noon, and oh my God, I made $1.4 million before 4 o'clock. We've all seen it. Okay. Aside from the fact that it's not right, the thing is too is it delivers the wrong message to the customer. So some people look at that and they say, well, if he can do it, I can do it. Well, maybe that's the case. 43 years in marketing, I've never seen that phenomenon happen once, least of all to me.
Right.
The important part about what to maintain is everybody wants to buy, but nobody wants to be sold. Okay. Nobody likes being sold to. So as a marketer coming into this world, being able to identify with your customer, how do they feel? What is their problem? And how do you solve it? And then once you solve it, how do they feel? And those are the questions that great marketers ask. You got a problem, how does that make you feel? Okay. Identify the problem, identify the elephant in the room. Then go to the opposite side and say, how do I solve the problem? And once it's solved, how is my customer going to feel? If you can answer those two questions, you can make money in marketing. But if you try to go into marketing on the premise that I'm going to sell this guy or I'm going to close this guy, or, back in the 80s, they used to say things like little acronyms like ABC, always be closing. I think that was great during that time, but I don't think it really, I think we're dealing with a much more um, intelligent consumer today.
Yeah. And it's so you said something that I kind of want to challenge you on a little bit, and not challenges and like argue, but so have you ever heard of Myron Golden?
Myron,
Golden?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so he has this thing. He doesn't like it when people say that they don't like to be sold things. We all like to be sold things. That's why we have money and so we can buy something. He says people don't like to be convinced,
maybe that's a better word. Maybe convinced is a better word.
right? So
I use sold to just,
no, I
I
understand.
think it's semantic, but yeah,
No, and that's what I was asking. Basically,
yeah,
is it just different verbiage, or do you have a
yeah.
different
No,
philosophy altogether?
you know what? I mean, it's different for me than it is for you, Stephen. I mean, I grew up, my dad was a salesman. He started off selling Fuller Brush door to door in the 40s. Okay. Um, for him, sales was always a story of convincing people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Selling vacuum cleaners, same thing. You keep the pressure on the customer. When I look at selling, convincing is part of that process of
Mm-hmm.
selling. Um, Convincing, persuading. I look at it as a semantic because it's all kind of part and parcel of the same thing for me.
Right.
As a marketer though, I like to try to separate that out. I really want to put the customer in the driver's seat.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make the customer my point of focus. So if you've got a problem, what is the problem? Okay. If you tell me what your problem is, I can guess how you feel, but it's better if I ask you the question. Say, well, how does that make you feel? Does it make you feel like this? Yeah, it does. Does it make
Right.
you feel like that? Yeah, it does. Okay. And then when we come to the point of the solution, how does that make you feel? Now they haven't bought the product yet. So at this point, I'm talking to people about their problems. So before I build out a marketing campaign of any kind, I want to talk to people who have got that problem that I'm looking to solve. Okay. I want to make sure that I've got enough research and development into my program before I launch the marketing campaign that I'm doing. Okay. So I tend to be one of those people that put a lot of research into what I do
Mm-hmm.
for my clients. Like I said, everybody has had the situation where, they launched an ad and then all of a sudden it's crickets.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't get me wrong. Even I've had that happen. And it's because there's not enough information gathered in the front end. And, I run into clients all the time and they'll say to me, I'll say, do you have a marketing guy working for you? Yeah, I do. He does social media marketing. I said, oh, good. When did he start with you? Oh, he started 2 weeks ago. Doing great. Lots of posting going on. You don't begin your marketing with social media. You end your marketing with social media. You don't start your marketing with a website. You end your marketing with a website. You know what I mean by that?
No,
You put in
no,
all
actually.
your R&D first, and then you
Okay.
build.
Gotcha. That
Okay.
makes sense. Yeah.
Hmm. So marketing
So,
is kind of a long game.
right. So when it comes to your research, then, we'll say, I don't know, we'll say Nike. You're gonna start a new ad campaign for a new Nike sneaker. Where would you start your research for that ad campaign?
What I'm first thing. Okay, so Nike. Oh my God, I hope they're not listening. Um, um,
I think
it,
you're
it,
probably safe.
yeah, and Nike's over there going, "Close your ears. We don't want to hear this." Right? Um, for me, I would start off at the base level. I want to start with who's going to wear those shoes. Are they going to be boys? Are they going to be girls? Are they going to be men? Are they going to be women? Okay. Um, and what are they going to be doing with them? Like, are they going to be jogging? Are they going to be playing basketball? Are they going to be running? Okay. Are they going to be playing soccer? I'm no authority on shoes, but that's where I would start. I would start at, and because Nike has a brand on the market, I would be going to people that wear shoes on the basketball court. I'd say, hey, listen, what kind of shoes do you wear? Oh, we wear Reebok. Oh, why do you wear Reebok? Oh, I wear Reebok because of this. Great. What kind of shoes do you wear? Oh, well, I wear Puma. Well, why do you wear Puma? Well, I wear them because of this, and this. Why don't you wear Nike? Oh, Nike, I can't. Nike's too expensive, whatever the case is. I don't like the way they feel. Um, and I'm going to keep talking to people because what happens is when you start talking to one guy and you go to the next guy, he may have a different answer. And
Right.
if you talk to 5 or 6 people, you're going to start finding that some of those answers are going to be the same.
So you're looking for the common denominator.
I'm looking for those common denominators. So I'm going to have one guy who's going to say, yeah, I don't wear Nike because they're too expensive. And I'm going to have 20 people that say Nikes are too expensive. Okay. So how do I overcome that problem? Okay. Well, if I'm working for Nike, I'm going to be saying, okay, well, look, why don't we come up with a new running shoe that would appeal to that particular statute in that market? Okay. Like I said, this is a roundabout way of doing it. Nike would probably spend $100 million to figure that out. Okay.
Wow.
But the point that I'm making to it is that you look for the common problems.
Right.
You might have 10 guys who say, listen, I just don't like the way they lace out.
But I
Okay.
want to point out real quick, the very first thing you did is you identified the product to a T.
Yes, sir.
Like you took every single aspect you could possibly think of and then some to identify that product to help you identify who the customer is going to be.
Absolutely.
And I love, and the reason I use Nike as an example is because I've noticed since I became an entrepreneur, Nike never markets to for middle-aged men like you and I. No, they market to the young athletes, the young boy and girl athletes,
Absolutely.
because and they do so brilliantly, like by showing professional athletes saying, "Hey, you want to be like LeBron? LeBron wears Nike."
Well, I think there's a bigger interest here. Nike promotes athletes who have overcome obstacles in their lives to become great in their field.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. Okay, that was the structure of Nike from the very beginning. Okay, it was to they're not in the shoe sale business. They sell shoes, but what is it that Nike really does? They want you to become your best self. And
So basically, they sell dreams.
if you look at any sort of marketing that they do, they did I can't remember the name of it, was Go Crazy with Colin Kaepernick
Mm-hmm.
and the quarterback for in the NFL.
Yeah,
And he was standing against uh,
police
uh,
brutality.
I'm sorry.
Police brutality.
Yeah. And there were a lot of people, a lot of consumers really stood up against it. But Nike held their ground.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they held their ground and they said, no, we're not going to budge off this. And they stayed with it, and the campaign became a huge success. You know, there's not many companies in the world. Matter of fact, I don't even know that there's any that have held the same marketing campaign for 30 years. Just do it. Okay. They've held that campaign for 30 years and have never deviated from it. And, to me, oops, sorry about that. To me, that's a sign of great marketing. Okay. Um, Marketing is all about identifying your customer and relating to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you can't relate to your customer, you're never going to sell.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
your customer has to believe what you believe. If you think you've got the greatest product in the world, fantastic. As long as they believe that too, they're going to buy your product. But if you think this is just about, putting some images or a little video and maybe some quirky text on a post on social media, and expect to get results, it just doesn't work that way. Human beings are a lot more complex.
So, what are key things entrepreneurs like myself, like just starting out, young entrepreneurs, what are key things we should be looking for in our customer demographic then?
Well, I think everybody's demographic is a little different. I think what you need to do is you need to understand. Like we use this word demographic, the better word here is the psychographic. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Demographics really just outline your geography, your age, your genders, your basic information. Excuse me. Your psychographics are what's going to really impact your product with your customer. How does your customer relate to you? How do you relate to your customer? How does your product relate? What are the advantages of your product? I will say one thing. I am a big fan of Russell Brunson. You know
Mm-hmm.
Russell Brunson?
I do.
Love his stuff. I don't like the software, don't like electronics, but I do like Russell Brunson because Russell always puts his customer first. He always over delivers. It's like I said to you early in the show. I said, really not that interested in doing courses or any of this other stuff that people do. I want to share my information. I just want to share it and allow people to take from it what they want. To me, I want to be able to over deliver for my customer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hey, you know what? You need this product, not a problem. I'm going to give you this, and that's going to help you do this. I'm going to give you this, and it's going to help you do that. And I'm going to give you, and hey, I'm going to give you these three things here, and I'll give you a pretty t-shirt as well, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to make sure that you have everything you need so that I can deliver a sale that's going to hold. Over deliver for your customers. And I hear this all the time. They'll say, well, you know what, man? I it took me 2 years to learn this stuff. Why should I give it away for free? Hey, it's just we live in an information age. If you're not giving it away for free, somebody else is.
Right.
Okay. The knowledge you gained in school, the knowledge I gained over 60 or 50 odd years in business, means nothing if you can't share it with someone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And again, at 64, I mean, money's not that important to me. So I look at it on the principle that I want to be able to do what's best for my customer. And
And then,
yeah, absolutely. And I want to deal with one customer. Okay. I mean, I have a whole group of addicts that I go through when I'm setting up a campaign because I build an avatar for my customer as my customer. So once I know who that customer is, and like I said, coming back to the interviewing process with if I'm doing running shoes while I'm talking to people in basketball court, and there's going to be times there I'm going to interview them with video. Now, why would I do that? Because I want to see the expression on their faces. I want to see how their eyes move. I want to see how they change, their smiles change. Because you see, all of those things, when you have that information in front of you, it makes a difference to how you present yourself to your customer. And we all know this because, you ever been on a sales call, Stephen? Have you ever done a sales call? Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you go in and you always try to lead with your best foot forward. But then there's the odd time you run into a sales guy. The sales guy comes into your office. He says, Stephen, yeah, this is what we do, blah, blah, blah. And, we have the best product, the best service. We have the best people, the best pricing. We've got the best delivery, best guarantee, blah, blah, blah. Okay, none of that stuff is important. They may be nice to know, but they're not emotionally going to connect me to buy from.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting part about this is that this is a routine that salespeople go through. So they just start blurbing it out like verbal diarrhea. It just comes out of their mouth. They don't have to think about it because they've done it so many times. And this is where the sales gets lost. Because if he's bored, I'm bored.
Right.
Now I'm looking for him to use the exit door. Okay. Where if he'd spend a little time getting to know me, getting to know what I like, getting to know what my needs are, what my desires are. And, let's look at a piece of software, I'm looking for a piece of software that can do database. Oh, you know what? I'm a sales guy and I've got salespeople that can do databasing. Great. But it can also do this. That's great. It can also do that. Well, that's great. It can also manage your calendar. Okay. And it can also do, it's also connected to AI and it's also connected to that. I don't care about any of those things. Does it do databasing? Oh, yeah, but it also does this and does. I don't care. Does it do
Overselling.
databasing? And does it do it well?
Right.
You see, if he'd spent his time talking to me about databasing, I would buy the product. But because it does a billion other things that I don't care about, I lose interest. And this is where people and marketers run into trouble because they lose the attention of their customer because they don't know enough about their customer to begin with. This comes back to what I said. You can't turn around and just put a pretty picture on a nice color background with some nice text and maybe a little video at the bottom and say buy here and expect people to buy. People are smarter than that.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you bring that up because I'm a big believer of don't reinvent the wheel.
Okay.
So whenever I got started in my entrepreneurial journey, I went and hired a bunch of coaches to teach me how to do it.
Yep.
Been there, done that, made their money, made their companies more importantly to serve people,
Yep.
and their values aligned with mine. So I hired these coaches, and my sales coach told me that if I'm on a sales call and the I'm talking more than 10 to 15% of the time, I'm doing it wrong
You are.
because I need to be asking questions and then just shut up and let them talk.
You know what?
He's
And
he's he's like the trick that most salesmen don't realize is a customer will sell themselves if you just let them talk.
there used to be a TV show called WKRP in Cincinnati. It was around during the 70s, before you were born. But there was a sales guy on there called Herb Tarlick. And he used to have patches on his elbows. So you know how old that show is. Anyway, but he was a sales guy that everybody would talk about. They would say, you know what, salespeople, I could never be a salesperson because um, I don't have the gift of the gab. You ever heard that?
Yeah,
I'm not a big talker. And it's funny because I tell salespeople all the time, you know what? Great. I'm glad you're not a great talker. Okay. Great salespeople are not great talkers, they're great listeners.
right.
Okay. You ask questions in a sales call for two reasons. One reason is to give yourself more insight into what the customer wants. And two, when it comes time to close the sale, the questions that you asked in the beginning become the answers to the objections at
Right.
the end. Okay. Geez, Randy, would you like to? Yeah, our product here does really great databasing. It can calculate all of this stuff for you. Is that what you're looking for? Yeah, that's really what I'm looking for. And if you had that, would that make your life better? Oh yeah, for sure it would be. And what if you were able to do this? Would that help you? Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. And if would that make your life better too? Yes, it would. Yes, it would. And if you were able to report all your databases in one platform, would that help you out? Yes, it would. That'd be great. I'm not interested. Really? Didn't you tell me, Randy, that if we could do this, that it would make your life better? Really? Yeah, I did say that. Well, didn't you agree that this, if you were able to report it all from one platform, that would make a difference in your life? Yeah, I did say that. You see, what you're doing is you're bringing back to the surface the answers to the questions that he's already asked. And this is just this is just one simple tactic strategy that you can use. And to me, I always tell people if you don't understand your customer, ask questions. And you ask questions until the golf club, when you when you hit the tennis ball perfect. Play tennis?
Not well, but yes, I know
Okay.
how.
You ever hit that? Have you ever hit that tennis ball perfect? And it just resonates right through your whole body. Okay. Um, on a sales call, when you're asking questions, and each question you ask brings you a little closer to the prospect and a little closer to understanding his situation. When you start feeling that you know exactly how this guy feels, That's when you know you've got enough information. If you don't feel that, don't keep asking questions. Keep asking the questions.
Right.
What if the product could do this? What if the service could do that? How would this make you feel? How would that make you feel? Because ultimately, it's going to be how they feel is going to determine whether they're going to buy it.
Hmm.
Don't you think it would be smart to ask them how they feel?
Yeah.
Okay. I
That's
always make a
brilliant.
point, and everybody always says to me, why do you ask people why they feel? I said, because the way they feel will determine whether they buy the product or service. So if I don't know how they feel, then they're probably not going to buy it. But if I do know how they feel, then I can manipulate things, change it around a little bit to make them feel more of that. Because
Right.
ultimately, this is what this is about. People buy because they're emotionally connected to the problems they have in life. And I say this to people all the time, it's people have two things in life they want. Everybody wants to be happy. The catalyst to that is that some people are happy in their own misery. Agreed?
Yeah.
Second thing is everybody is emotionally connected to their own problems. Every single person. Every single one. So if you've got a problem, I'm going to solve it, which is the outline of an entrepreneur, a person who takes somebody else's problem and makes it their own.
Makes their life better. So, how important is it then, Randy, to fully believe and be committed in the product you're trying to sell?
Have you ever bought from somebody who's not committed? You
I
ever bought
can't.
from somebody who just didn't care?
I can't think of a time. No.
You can't?
No.
No. You know what? I've seen that probably 100 times in my life. People that just kind of go through the motions. Okay. And it sticks out like a sore thumb. Okay. It's the same thing as the guy who's there for the money. You know what? Just start talking to the guy. You're going to know right away that that's what he's there for. He's there for a big commission check. He's there for, he's there because his boss made him come here, whatever the case is. So, how important is it to be committed to what you do? I think it's very important that you are committed to whatever you do. If you're a marketer, then your job is to market a product or service, then you need to perform that duty to the best of your ability. If you're a salesperson, same thing. You need to perform that to the best of your ability. If you're a podcast host, you have to perform that to the best of your ability. And of course, Stephen, you do. So there you go.
Thank you very much. No, I
I
agree.
just think that, you know what I do? I think that you gotta love what you do. I mean, that's the one thing about me. I love what I do. I wake up every day and you know what? I'm 64. I could have retired 8 years ago. But you know what? I just love what I do. I love every day. And I love my customers. I love my clients. I love my clients' clients. And you know what? It shows. I'm not here for the money. I'm here for so anyways, yeah. So I believe that yeah, you've got to put your best effort. And we live in a very competitive world, much more than it was during the 80s. Okay. I mean, it's 1,000 times more busier out there in the world. So there are always going to be people that are going to rise to the occasion.
Yeah, it's interesting too because whenever I work with small business owners or entrepreneurs, maybe someone starting an online business or something like that. A lot of times they tell me their price point of their products or services, and it's like you got to raise your price.
Yeah.
And they're like, no one's going to pay that. I'm like, okay, first of all, it's not for you to decide what people will pay and what they won't. That's the market's job. Let the market do its job because it'll teach you really quick if you're charging too much. It'll also teach you really quick if you're charging too little. Because if you're charging too little, that just screams I'm not confident in what I'm trying to sell you.
Yes, I
Right.
agree.
So when I started working, and I learned this the hard way. I have an amazing mentor. Her name's Tammy, and you know she's like, how much do you charge for your coaching? And I sheepishly told her because I knew I was about to get reamed, and she goes, you need to be charging $1,000 a month minimum. It's like, who's going to pay me 1,000? And she's like, do you believe in your product? Of course I do. Not at that price point, you don't. And so she eventually convinced me and showed me the error in my ways. But I see that now. Almost every entrepreneur or small business I work with, I see that all the time. That they're too scared or just don't believe in what they're doing enough, and when that really hurts them in the sales call.
Oh yeah, it really does. I mean, like I said, I myself personally, I don't think I'm the most expensive guy in the world. I'm certainly not the cheapest either. What I can tell you is this: you have to put a value on you. Okay, you got to put a value on who you are and what you can bring to the table. I tell people when you buy me, I'm a marketer. I'm always a marketer first. Okay, I just happen to be a marketer that can build websites. I happen to be a marketer that can do ad copy. I happen to be a marketer who can do social media. Okay. But I'm always a marketer first, as opposed to graphic designers who know nothing about marketing, know nothing about selling, but they're great graphic marketers or graphic designers. Okay. And this isn't a slight at graphic designers because some of them are wonderful, but it's being able to know who you are in all of this. Okay. And I think that's really an important factor. If you don't know who you are, you can't expect other people to know who you are.
Right.
And this comes back to what you were saying earlier. You've really got to, and I had to do this with myself. Actually, I went away for a weekend by myself and I sat there and I thought about it. Who is Randy Crane? And why should anybody listen to me? And I came up with, a few reasons. But it just so happens that, you know, marketing takes vision, it takes time, it takes talent, and you've got to be connected to your audience. And those things they're not natural to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a skill that has to be built.
Yeah. You've brought up social media quite a few times. So I got to ask this question. How has social media changed marketing? Has it completely turned it upside down on its head, or was it a pretty easy transition from radio and TV and newspaper into social media?
The biggest transition, I think, was from 1940 to 1960. Okay, now, just so you know, I wasn't around in 1940. Okay? Contrary to what some people believe. No, you see, in 1930s and 1940s, if I owned a tractor and you were the farmer down the street, I'd buy my new John Deere tractor, and then Stephen, you'd come up to my farm and say, "Hey, Randy, I really love your tractor. How do you like it?" "Oh, Stephen, this thing, great tractor. I mean, it can do this, and can do that, and can do all these wonderful things that tractors can do." And you would get my recommendation. And then based on my recommendation and several other people, you would choose to make a purchase of one yourself. In the 1930s and 1940s, that's how it was. Okay. Then all of a sudden, late 50s, early 60s rolled around, and TV started becoming popular, and advertising on newspapers and places like that. And that kind of what we call today social proof or social reviews went away for, I don't know, 30 years. I mean, some people were still doing it, but it wasn't really a big thing. And then all of a sudden, the digital age rolled around, and all of a sudden, it came back with a boom. Social proof was huge again. So, how do I think social media has changed it? I think what social media has done is it's resurrected the old um, trust your neighbor program. Okay. I think it's brought
Let
that
me
back.
interrupt you real quick because this is awesome. So let me tell you about my wife. My wife's amazing. She's
Okay.
5 foot tall, 100 pounds, tiny little Ukrainian. Love her to death. She has an
Yep.
awesome little Ukrainian accent. And buying something on Amazon
Yep.
can take her anywhere from 2 or 3 hours to 2 or 3 days
Right.
because she is reading review after review after review, just non freaking stop. It's
Right.
insane.
Because this is what social media, and I'm going to touch on Amazon in just a minute, but this is what it's done. It's resurrected the old trust my neighbor program process. Okay. The other thing it's done too is it's actually narrowed um, the statistics on media. Back in the 70s and 80s, we trusted companies like the BBC and AC Nielsen to track your advertising campaigns, which were never correct anyway. Okay, and today you can track your own. Okay, everybody with a camera is a uh, is a YouTube star. Okay, everybody with a camera is a social media star. Okay, and I get it. I get it. Um, I think it's closer today than it was yesterday. So, do I think the statistics that we got from media sources back in the 70s and 80s were accurate? Not even close. I mean, they were just horrible. Okay. Um, we look at companies like Budweiser, um, they would make a decision based on the AC Nielsen um, stat report on whether they were going to spend $16 million on a particular ad copy, okay, or a particular ad for the Super Bowl. All right. Um, I think most companies realized that it was probably a bad way of doing things. But of course, nobody wants to admit that because it was like 20, 30 years of doing it.
Right.
Um, Today, if I want to see how an ad campaign is doing, I check my Google Analytics, I can check Facebook, I can check Instagram, I can check TikTok. They all give me pretty good, accurate information. And providing I can compile that information into a proper format, okay, I can narrow that down in minutes. Coming back to what you're saying about Amazon and your wife and how she goes through, you know what? There are two ways of getting sold. One is Amazon, in this case, is a race to the bottom. And it's one of the things that I really have a problem with Amazon is because it is. It's a race to the bottom. You go to Amazon and I'm going to buy a new camera. And I really like that Canon camera. Okay, well, I'm going to look at the Canon cameras. And I see, oh, this guy here's got them for 550. This guy here's got it for 480. This guy here's got it for 430. Then I'm going to look and I'm going to look down and I'm going to see his reviews. Are his reviews any good? Yeah, I can see he's got the reviews. See, now I buy my product. It's a race to the bottom. And I'm not saying in all cases, but I'm saying in a lot of cases, that's what it is. Where when you are introducing a product to a company, you're interrupting. It's an interruption of the day. So you go in and you visit with the customer, you talked about your product, your service, blah, 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 whatever it is you're doing. And the person makes a decision on the sale that way. Myself personally, I've always been more partial to that, probably because that's how I grew up. But I know there are a lot of people that make money on Amazon. Don't know how, but
Mhm.
they do it.
Yeah, they make a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm like you. I don't know how they do it, but they
Well,
make a
you
lot
know
of
what? It's just been not something that really hasn't really interested me. So
right.
yeah.
So transitioning a little bit, I'm curious to learn where did fearless marketer come from?
1993, and the customer passed away. Um, he had been with me for, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years. Um, Anyways, in 1993, he was a customer. I started with him in 91, just after I had opened up my own business. Excuse me. And he was a difficult guy. Um, he was German.
Boy,
and
all you
and
need
of
to
course,
say.
you know what? I mean, I'll be honest with you, Stephen. You know what? In '91, I was so broke. Okay, like I mean, I was poor, and I would take any customer that came along. And this guy came along. He said to me, he says, "Well, you do what I tell you to do." I said, "Okay, you're going to pay me? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll do what you told me." So this went on for a year, and I would turn around and I'd say to him, "You know what? If we do it this way, it'd be better." He'd say, "No, no, no, no. You don't know what you're doing." He said, "Just do it the way I tell you." So this went on for a year, and it actually went on for 2 years because it was in 1993. And I turned around and I said to him, Weiss, I said, "I can't do this anymore." He said, "What do you mean you can't do this? You just do as I tell you." I said, "No, that's the problem. You know, I do as you tell me to do, and you make no money. And then you go out and you get more money, and I do as you tell me to do, or as you tell me to do, and then you make no money again. And this has gone on for like 2 years." And he said to me, he says, "Well," he says, "I don't know what to tell you." I said, "Well, I can tell you. I'll tell you. But if we do it this way," "Oh no, that's stupid." I said, "If we do it this way, you'll make money." So he hummed and hawed about it. And when I say hummed and hawed, he hummed and hawed for like 3 months. Okay. And I went back to him and I said, "Look, Weiss, if you got until Friday to make the decision. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go find another job because this is depressing me." So he comes back to me on the Friday. He says, "Okay, you do it." But he says, "Don't make a mistake." Like he hasn't made mistakes over the last 2 years, right? So I put together the campaign for him. He said, "You know, this will never work." I said, "Okay." We did some advertising. We did a little bit of, because you got to remember too, at that time, there was no social media really.
Right.
Okay. So we did some advertising. We did some guerrilla work. And all of a sudden, sales start coming in the door. And then more sales started coming in the door. So I took some more budget and I put it towards more advertising in those particular areas that were drawing in people. Anyways, his sales from that campaign were about 310 over a period of about 2.5 months.
Nice.
And he was so thrilled with it. He goes, "Oh, Randy," he says, "you are fearless. I would never have done this without you. You are the fearless marketer." And that's how it stuck.
What a cool story. What a
Yeah, it
cool
was yeah, you know what? It's funny because, it's interesting. Um, Weiss died in, I think it was 2008. Um, but as a client, he was with me for 9 or 10 years. And I find that's always a good measuring tool for me. Um, when my clients stick around, okay, I have one client that's been with me for 5 years. I've got another one that's been with me for 20. I've got another client that's been with me for 4 years, another one for 6 years. Okay. I don't really spend a whole lot of time going out looking for clients because my clients keep coming back to me.
Right.
And, it's always a good measuring stick. If your customers come back to you, it's a good idea. Tells you
Mhm.
kind of doing a good job.
Man, that's so awesome, and it's so great to talk to you, Randy. You have so much information, and I feel like we barely scratched the surface of
You
some
know
of the
what?
stuff I wanted to talk about.
Well,
So
it's kind of the rabbit hole, isn't it?
right, yeah. So we'll have to have you back so we can dig into some more of this because I feel like marketing is so important to what we do as entrepreneurs, as business owners, companies. Like marketing, you have to understand it and you have to be good at it, or you have to hire someone like yourself that understands it
That's
and is
good,
good
huh?
at it. But if you're just starting out, more than likely you don't have the capital to do so. So you got to figure it out for yourself. So I mean, just understanding, having that knowledge is so good. And even if you are going to go hire a marketer, you need to have some sort of understanding so you know what to look for.
Without a doubt. Stephen, before we leave today, I would really like to give your audience something useful that they can use. Can I do that?
Absolutely.
Okay. If you're going to start working on a marketing campaign, get a piece of paper, get one of these, okay? And buy one of these. Okay. Um, draw a line down the center of the page. On one side, list all the problems that your product or service, sorry, that your customer has regarding the product or service you're selling. And then on to the left of that, make a list of all of the feelings or the emotions that they have. Then on the other side, make a list of all of the how they feel after they make the purchase. So now you've got a line down the middle, you've got problems on one side and how it feels, what the solutions are, and how they make you feel. And then start working with that into your content. You can have, it's funny, we've seen this in websites before, they have great images, but the content sucks and it does nothing. Website does nothing. But you can have a really ugly looking website, but if the content is great, it will outsell anything. Make sure your content reflects the emotions they feel before and the emotions they feel after. Okay. Like I said, buy a paper and pen, write it down. Something magic happens when you write stuff down. I don't know whether you believe that or not. I know with me it
Absolutely.
does. Okay. It's so much better than putting it on your computer. Right. Anyway, Stephen, sorry. I
No,
just
you're
wanted to have a
good.
good takeaway for that.
You're good. And I agree with you 100%. I have just in my arms reach 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 notebooks. Oh, 12. I have 12 that I can reach just from my recording desk right here. So I
You know what?
absolutely believe in pen and paper.
Oh yeah, me too. You see, here we are. Here we are. You know, yeah, I got them everywhere. And you know what? To me, it's an important thing. It's an exercise you don't want to get away from.
Yeah.
Write stuff down. Something magic happens when you put a pen to a piece of paper. It makes it more important, right?
Well, yeah, and just to add some proof to your statement. I don't remember what university it was, but a university did a study, and you are 47 times more likely to achieve a goal that you write down on a piece of paper.
Oh, without a doubt. And you know
And
what?
I think
I would
that's
love to have
skewed.
that conversation with you.
Do what?
I said I would love to have that goal setting conversation with you.
One of the notebooks that I have within arm's reach is my goal book,
Yeah,
and I have a pretty awesome system for myself. It's taken me years and years and years to develop.
me
I call it
too.
my goal journal. And so, being military, I reverse plan everything. I don't like to forward plan.
Yeah,
So basically, what I at the front of my journal is my 5 to 10 year goals, and I
yep,
don't have many. I try to keep somewhere between 2 to 5 10 year goals, and we'll say I can't think of one off. We'll say so in the next 10 years, I want my company to make $7.5 million, right?
yep,
So 5 years from now, I want my company to make $7.5 million. So then I go to the middle of my journal, and in the middle of my journal is my 1 year goal.
yep.
And so I take that $7.5 million, and it's like, okay, so this year, what am I going to do to work towards this? And so I write down, anywhere from 4 to 5 goals oriented towards that goal. And then I go to the back of the journal, and that is my month to day to day or month, weekly, and day to day journal and or goal journal. And that's where I write my goals and to dos that are all oriented towards that 1 year goal. So
You have a gratitude journal?
I do. I do.
Boy, good boy. You know what? I'm going to tell you something. I keep a gratitude journal and I have for 30 years. And I'll tell you something that has changed my life. Because you know what? You can't have what you have. You can't have what you want. You can only have who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And for me, I'm the fearless marketer. It's taken me time to get here.
Man, that's a whole nother can of worms that you're
It
opening up
is. It is.
because I just wrote a blog and a ton of social media posts about that exact thing because people want the success. They want the fame, the money, the success. And but what we see these videos of a guy on a bicycle doing all these amazing tricks, but we don't see the 4 or 5 years of him landing on his face.
Oh, yeah, I'm so glad you said that. I have this very good friend of mine. He's a web designer, Frank Barrera. And he skis like snowboards
Mm-hmm.
down hills, right? And he just in and out. And this guy does, it never falls. And I said to him, I said, man, what a video that is. That was like, and he goes, yeah. He says, well, I've been doing it for like 25 years. And I said, wow, man. I said, you're so good. He says, no. He says, I've been doing it for 25 years. That means I've been falling, tripping, and running into trees for 25 years. Okay. He said, but you don't ever see that. All you see is
Right. All the cool stuff.
you see all the cool stuff. But marketing is the same way. You know what? Nobody comes out and shows you all the terrible things that happen. Okay. And believe me, you know what? I mean, I'm the guy. If terrible things were to happen when I was younger, it was going to happen to me. Okay. But I mean, like I said, I remember taking an ad and I was so convinced this ad was so great. This is, you kidding? It was awesome. And I turned around and I launched the ad and nothing. And day two, nothing. Day three, nothing. Day four, I got a phone call from the newspaper saying, hey, do you want to run the ad again? That was it. Okay. So I understand this. But what I'm saying is over time, you rise to the occasion. You become head and shoulders above the crowd. Okay. But it takes time. Nobody was born marketer. Nobody's born a marketer. I wasn't born a marketer. Okay. But I learned, and I read. I'm an avid reader. Okay. Because I always figure leaders are readers, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Have you read Story Brand by Donald Miller?
I'm sorry.
Have you read Story Brand by Donald Miller?
You know what? Donald Miller is my hero.
Mine too.
You know what? He really is. And it's funny. I had a chance to meet him at a symposium about 4 or 5 years ago. And what a wonderful guy.
Really?
Oh yeah, he is very cool. And he had his partner with him. Didn't like him too much, but I did like Donald Miller. And
That's
I'm just trying
awesome.
to think of the name of his company. Story Brands.
Yeah, Story Brand.
Story Brands, yeah. And I'm also a big fan of Seth Godin.
Yeah, yeah, he's awesome.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't think he's writing books anymore. I think he's just writing blogs. But you know, you can't hurt yourself by learning from these guys.
Yeah.
And I'm coming out with a book.
Really?
Absolutely.
Have you got a title yet?
I do. It's called Sell to One or Market to Millions.
I like it.
Yeah.
Nice. When's it coming out?
I'm expecting it out in October, but the way my life goes, it'll probably be closer to December. But I am going to be giving it away free plus shipping.
Oh, really?
I'm going to do a free plus shipping. I'm also doing an audio book for it, and yeah, so
cool.
absolutely.
Well, we'll definitely have to have you back on about when it's getting ready to release, so we can get some publicity going for it.
Yeah, I absolutely, Stephen.
Not that
Any
not
chance
that
that
the
I could
fearless.
spend, any other chance I could spend an hour with you is good for me.
Oh, thank you so much. That blesses my heart. But I mean, I was about to say, not that the fearless marketer needs my help, but I'll take the compliment too.
Absolutely, my friend. Anything I can do, I'm more than happy.
That is awesome. So, real quick, Randy, I want to make sure we get people to you that my fellow entrepreneurs that are needing marketing help, or businesses that are needing marketing help, whatever the case may be. How
Sure.
can people find you, get a hold of you, see what you got going on?
Sure. The easiest way would be to get a hold of me through email, randy@fearlessmarketer.com. You can also reach out to me through my website. I'm also on all social media channels, so reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, anywhere you can. And if you send me an email, though, I do answer all my emails. And if you have a question and you want my help, I'm always happy to help.
Fantastic. And of course, I will have all his links to all his stuff in the show notes, as well as mine. So, after you're done checking Randy's stuff out, giving him some love, don't forget to come give me some love. All right, Randy. So you've listened to the podcast, so you know the rule. Every guest at the very end gets asked the question, how can the listeners lead like champions?
Be your best self. Be your best self. Be authentic. Be real. Don't, you don't have to be Superman or Wonder Woman. Okay? You are good enough. And but come to the world from a position of authenticity. Okay? Be you. Because nobody expects you to be anything more than that.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. Just be you. I mean, and that's so true, because when it comes to leadership, people's BS meters, they work well. And if you're
do they ever?
If you're trying to be fake, they're going to tell, and they're not going to follow you. Absolutely. Great advice, Randy. I appreciate, brother, you sharing all your wisdom with us here today. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And thank you for your kind words, of course. All right, everybody.
It's been a pleasure.
That's going to wrap up this week's episode of the Renowned Leadership Podcast. He is Randy Crane, the fearless marketer. I am Stephen Morris, the fearless leader. You like what I did there?
I did. I saw that. It's a real good play on words.
All right,
and I'll
everybody.
back you on that too, by the way.
Appreciate it, brother. All right, everybody. That wraps up this week. Thank you so much. And never forget, lead like a champion.